Previously on F1.
The season is underway. He's going to have to go through the escape road. Vettel leads the World Championship. Front wing surely damaged. Whoa! Sebastian Vettel wins again.
Terrible mistake there.
How did he do that? Lewis Hamilton wins brilliantly.
Round 4, Turkey.
Here they come, to the gates of Europe.
Led by world champion Sebastian Vettel.
Who dominated in Australia.
Fantastic, brilliant way to start the year. The trophy you wanted.
And sped through Asia.
Sebastian Vettel, 100% record in 2011.
Chased hard by Jenson Button.
Button in second after a brilliant performance.
And finally caught in China by Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton brilliantly wins the Chinese Grand Prix.
There'll be other winners, and their battle will rage across Europe.
What a drive, there's so much going on. What a race we've got in front of us then.
To Barcelona and Monaco.
Across the Atlantic to Canada.
And soon to Britain. But first they stand here, the centre of the old world, on the straits of the Bosphorus, the boundary between east and west, ready to race, ready to storm into Europe.
I've got a feeling we're going to see something special here.
And we'll find out if that's the case in less than an hour's time. Well, we're not there yet, but we're getting close. Europe is just 18 miles in that direction. It's the traditional heartland of Formula One, and every team, every driver would love to leave here from Turkey, knowing they had a great weekend and preparing for the rest of the season. We'll wait and see exactly what happens, but welcome to race 4 of 2011, live here on BBC One and BBC One HD in the company of Eddie Jordan and David Coulthard. And it's a case of welcome back to Eddie. I think you maybe learned a lesson actually in China, Eddie. Miss a race this season, and the chances are you might just miss something special.
Well, I didn't actually miss it because I was watching it. Above all places, Grenada, the home of Lewis Hamilton. I've never seen such euphoria. They were crazy, bumping horns, everything was happening, everyone was like a total celebration, so I did catch a glimpse of some of the action.
Well, that's great to know, and the celebrations were equally impressive in China because it was some Grand Prix, David, and that race basically signalled the end of 3 races where the teams could hardly catch their breath. Coming here to Turkey, it's a bit of a reset button for all of them, isn't it?
Well, it is indeed, because they've had the opportunity now to actually get the cars back to factory. The developments that they're using out on the track here have been pre-fitted back there, and that gives them the opportunity to sort of catch their breath, as you say, and really plan their mid-season attack back in Europe.
Sure. OK, well, this is how things have panned out so far this season, and you can see the way the rest of the season shapes up in front of us. It all finishes in Brazil on the 27th of November, and it's worth pointing out that as things stand at the moment, Bahrain is not on the calendar, but officials from the circuit are here this weekend, and they say they want to race in 2011. Well, one man who's enjoying racing this year is Sebastian Vettel. So far, he's picked up 2 wins out of the 3 Grand Prix so far, That puts him 21 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton. And you can see Mark Webber there, 37 points. He's 31 points behind Sebastian. He seriously needs to start picking up some points. Of course, it's 25 for a win in Formula One as things stand. Right, David, we'll catch up with you very shortly because someone impressed hugely in qualifying yesterday, and David's going to go and grab them. But it's never easy on race day to grab hold of somebody on a Sunday, and we're going to head down here and speak to Bernie Ecclestone, because after Lewis's impressive win in China, you would have thought the only thing that we were talking about at the moment is the racing. Well, actually, that's not the case, because, of course, there's been an announcement that News Corp have announced that they want to... Sorry, Peter, that News Corp want to get involved in Formula One, and we very nearly knocked Bernie down there. That was some Swiss footwork to get out of the way of our camera.
Strictly come dancing, I think.
He would have gone over, I wouldn't have done.
That's very true. You would have crouched down and knocked him over. So we're talking about News Corp, Bernie. They're a huge company, the third largest media company in the world. They say they're interested in Formula One, but of course you'll be at the centre of any negotiations, if there are any. How do you rate their chances of getting hold of this sport?
I don't know, because the company's not for sale, so it's like somebody saying we're going to buy the BBC, I suppose, if it's not for sale.
Bernie, nevertheless, the structure of CVC, who is your partner and your major shareholding partner, in their criteria, in their mandate, they are obliged to find some sort of an exit in time. Who would you like to see as a potential partner going forward? What kind of person?
Well, I'd like to see them stay where they are. We're very happy with them. They're doing a good job. They don't have to sell. Contrary to what people seem to think, they don't have to sell.
Moving on just a small bit, if I may, Jake, from the team's point of view, having been one, the current situation to make it more saleable and to maximise the price, if you were to sell it, surely the Concord Agreement needs to be in place. Does that actually put more strength behind the teams in negotiating with you?
I don't know who they're going to negotiate with if they don't. I mean, the Concord Agreement is an ongoing thing, as you know. We've only had 5 or 6 of those, I think.
What the teams have
There's
announced.
a problem about you're not going to sign, but you always do.
Bernie, money always has a way of doing things when you don't want to do.
No, with you, not with everybody.
No, very
true. The exception, Bernie,
but
remember.
as far as the teams are concerned, Bernie, they see this perhaps as an opportunity to strengthen their hand, because they've said that they'd like to go and meet News Corp, of course, because the Concord Agreement runs out at the end of 2012, and they still think they can walk away.
You have some... They've been walking away for a long time. They keep walking away. They get lost, that's the trouble, when they walk away. The trouble is, as a company, they don't want to sell.
OK, so as far as you're concerned, at the moment, News Corp can say they're as interested as they like, but the teams are happy and you're happy for it to stay as it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
OK, a few other points we do need to clear up about Formula One at the moment. First of all, the Turkish Grand Prix. We've actually got a nice sign to show you, which we saw out on the main grandstand here, and it said, Bernie, please do not take away our Grand Prix. Lots of talk about Turkey. You were instrumental in bringing the race here. What is the future of this Grand Prix?
I hope the future's here for another 20 years. We'll try and do something, find a way around it.
The biggest problem, though, is attendances and fans, and if you go through Istanbul, it's almost like there's not a Grand Prix happening.
And why there's not... I mean, this is probably, I should think, and Eddie should know this, one of the nicest circuits in the world, huh?
And a great place, a wonderful, wonderful system.
And
historic,
yeah, exactly.
And everything.
Everything's good about it. I just don't know why. Maybe we haven't done enough to publicise the race. Maybe that's the reason.
OK, but you'd like to see it staying here?
I'm going to try and make sure it does.
OK, good luck with that. And finally, something we need to talk about, another Grand Prix, the Bahrain race. Of course, we were meant to start the season there, we didn't. We know that Bahrain officials are here this weekend saying they'd like it in 2011. I suppose the big problem for you is where to fit it into the calendar. If we take a look at the rest of the season, it's very tight.
Okay, so we're going to make a decision in June, the World Council in June, to whether or not we're going to fit it in or not. We can fit it in, no problem.
Bernie, just before I may want to talk to you a little bit about rumours that testing is coming back. Surely with the way the championship, the new rules that you put in, this has been an extraordinary start to a season. So exciting, full of anticipation. You can't possibly let testing start again.
I think you're right. I don't see why we need more testing. They can test with the new drivers. I think we should have some testing for new drivers, otherwise we'll never find any.
And
but
that may be on
for
a
the
Friday.
current guys, I don't think it's necessary.
OK, well, the president of the FIA has said he'd like to see testing come back. We'll wait and see what happens there. But great to get your thoughts as ever. Thank you very much for joining us. And
I think with Jean Todt, I think his feelings are the same as my feelings, that he'd like to see it come back to encourage more guys to come into Formula One.
OK, finally, give us a winner today.
I think it's going to be very, very hard. to oppose Sebastian.
And I thought you might say that. Bernie, thanks very much. Always a big fan of young drivers coming into the sport, so there you go. It's not for sale. He wants to stay here in Turkey, and he thinks that perhaps he can get Bahrain on the calendar this season. We'll wait and see how all of that pans out. But let's go back to the racing now and talk about Sebastian Vettel, because, of course, he has dominated so far this year, leaving plenty of men in his wake. We'll be speaking to Lewis Hamilton and Mark Webber in just a few moments. But could Seb make it another pole position yesterday after a pretty tough start to the weekend?
The big question going into qualifying was how much this crash in practice would affect Sebastian Vettel. He'd only done 17 laps in the dry up to the point qualifying began. When it did start, we didn't have to wait long for the first casualty. A fuel pump failure left Kamui Kobayashi out of qualifying. It set up a tasty prospect for today's race. One of the best overtakers in F1, with how many cars to get past?
26, 24. It's quite a lot of cars in front. Try.
Thank you.
Even after 7 World Championships and 91 race wins, we're still learning new things about Michael Schumacher. This week, it was something he keeps in his car.
Magic paddle, Michael. Magic paddle latched.
The magic paddle is a switch that acts like a sport mode, putting engine revs, fuel mixtures and diff settings into their optimum mode for a quick lap. It worked to a point. Both Mercedes are in the top 10, but Schumacher will need some more magic items if he's to beat his teammate. Nico Rosberg was over a second quicker in an identical car.
No, I'm not happy at all. I mean, so far off, that's a bit unusual. It didn't really work out at all. I mean, the grip, for whatever reason, wasn't there.
I'm happy for everybody today that we're so far up. I mean, 1/10 away from the slowest Red Bull. That's pretty cool. And we saved one set of new tires for the race.
Ferrari have an improved car here this weekend, but it's been slow progress. Felipe Massa made a mistake on his one lap and starts 10th, but Fernando Alonso fared rather better. He starts 5th. It was also a disappointing qualifying for Jenson Button, who struggled to find the right setup. He's only 6th.
It's not perfect, you know, I hope to be a bit higher, but, I just couldn't get a great balance.
It wasn't much better for Lewis Hamilton. He's just 4th. He's on the slippery, dirty side of the grid, which will hurt him at the start, and he doesn't have any new tyres to use after McLaren used them all at the end of qualifying in an attempt to make the front row.
I'm looking forward to a strong race, and it's going to be it's a long one here, but there's obviously opportunity to overtake here, so it should be good.
That left Red Bull. Both Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber went out early, duly set the first and second fastest times, before retiring to the garage and hanging up their helmets for the afternoon. That meant they've saved a new set of tyres for the race, so not only are they on the front row, the Red Bull also have the best strategy to win today. Vettel made amends for his Friday crash, and he didn't even need a magic paddle.
You always try to be perfect, but it's very rare you reach it, so we have to keep pushing hard to stay where we are, and today we did a good job, but we have the race in front of us, so it won't be easy tomorrow. It's a long race and a lot of things that can happen here.
So Sebastian Vettel maintains his domination of pole position in 2011. Mark Webber's second is his best of the season. Nico Rosberg stands between Lewis Hamilton and the Red Bulls, while Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button are set for a race-long battle. Another creditable performance from Vitaly Petrov, 7th, ahead of Michael Schumacher, Nick Heidfeld and Felipe Massa. Rubens Barrichello's 11th, which restores some hope to a Williams team searching for a new technical director, while Paul di Resta is 13th. The Toro Rossos and Team Lotus cars line up 2 by 2, while Jerome D'Ambrosio and Kamui Kobayashi start on the last row of the grid for the Turkish Grand Prix.
And we've made our way out here to the pit lane, and you can see the problems that Bernie has with this race. If you look up there, although we're not at the sharp end of the grid here, you can see the fans are not exactly here in their droves at the moment. This is where the slower cars will be starting. Down the sharp end of the grid, we'll have the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Nico Rosberg, who starts 3rd on the grid, as you just saw there. He's with David Coulthard. David.
So, thank you, Jake. Just here with Nico Rosberg. Very impressive qualifying yesterday. Best of the season in 3rd place. What do you put down this big step forward in performance?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we haven't even really put any big upgrades on the car, yeah? So it's just nice to see how from one race to the next, we're just getting the most out of it. We're understanding the few areas where maybe we went a bit wrong, correcting some of the aerodynamic problems we had, and small details, yeah? And just these things just allow us to make big step forward. So it's really good, and I'm really pleased with 3rd place on the grid. Should give me a great possibility for the stars and then for a good race today.
Well, it seems that you're leading this team. You're regularly out-qualifying Michael. Obviously, he's got a great record in Formula One. Do you find that the team is really following your lead when it comes to what you need from the car to make it go faster?
Well, I'm very thankful that with time now I've been able to build up also respect within the team, and they respect my opinion just as much as Michael's also, who obviously is extremely competent in those sort of areas. And so it's really working together, and a lot of some of the ideas, you know, that also come from me now lately and things like that. So it's working well. We both help to improve the car.
You caught us out at the last race with an early pit stop and then suddenly leading the Grand Prix, and if you hadn't had the underfueling issue, then maybe you could have won that race. Can we expect something similar here, early stops to try and get the undercut?
I'm definitely out there to make up for it this weekend.
Right, well, we wish you luck. Go and get ready. Back to you, Jake.
Well, he seems like a driven young man, and he wouldn't be talking like that, Eddie, unless he thought he could do something out here today.
No, he looks good. There's a spring in his step. But he's been continually out-qualifying the great Michael Schumacher, and that has an effect over a period of time. It gives inner confidence. It gives that little sense of arrogance, and he looks strong at the moment.
Yeah, not maybe getting as much credit as he should for the way that he's been driving, but just over half an hour to go now until it's lights out in the start of today's Grand Prix. And how will Mark Webber be feeling today? Well, he's been very much trailing in his teammates' wake for the past few races. However, today he's looking to upset the odds, just as he did in China a few weeks ago. What a drive that was.
Mark Webber has dropped out in the first part of qualifying. He will start this Grand Prix 18.
The car put up a big fight, and up until the race we were certainly on the back foot.
He's not marching through the field like we expected.
I was anxious early, but obviously never gave up.
I still don't understand why he started on the hard tyres.
You have obviously different options to put yourself in a position where you can do your pace.
And Webber's catching them like crazy, driving like a man possessed.
Gentleman, Webber is close behind. He is going to attack you. Beware of Webber.
World-class drivers, you're not going to be ripping 2 seconds out of them just because all of a sudden you start pushing and you're driving well. I was driving well, but there's a lot of tyre involved as well.
Mark Webber, after a stunning performance, is third and on the podium.
Unbelievable, Mark. What a fantastic drive.
Did you imagine on the Saturday night when you were sitting 18th that you could get to the podium?
I think it was a bit of a long shot, really. I think top 6, yes, if we had a smooth day, but you know, a podium, considering there's only one retirement as well. You know, if there was a bit of fireworks at the front, you might say, okay, you might get jamming to get a podium if some of the big boys, you know, play up a little bit at the front, but they didn't. They all had clean races, and so it was a genuine podium, which was a bit unexpected. I saw a Red Bull engine cover on the last lap in the distance, and I thought, well, Toro Rosso, you know, my lap one was like, it's Sebastian. You're like, what the hell? How did this happen?
You seem a lot happier today than maybe in previous races this season. Obviously, you start second tomorrow.
Yeah, we've had a smooth weekend here. Today went probably as good as it could have gone for us. We saved a set of tyres, although, yes, I would have liked to have done another lap to get closer to Seb because the lap, you know, could have been a bit better, but Seb did a phenomenal lap for pole. I'm second, and we're in good shape for the Grand Prix. We know that's what it's all about these days. Sundays are important.
When Sebastian's 4 tenths ahead of you, does that inspire you, impress you, or just frustrate you a little bit?
No, well, probably the last two. It impresses you and also frustrates you a bit as well. I think, you know, I've always said at this level you want to be competing against the best guys, and you know, clearly we know Seb's on top of his game. There's been times in the past where you think Seb does a lap and you think, wow, but then there's other times where I've made him feel, like last year, make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. So it's been a good battle between us. Clearly at the moment he's certainly on the front foot, definitely on Saturdays. Let's see how tomorrow goes. That's the first time we've been together really for a race, and see how it goes.
The inevitable question, if you and Sebastian are alongside each other tomorrow, will it enter in your mind, or are you just in your racing mode?
Oh, I think it's absolutely what enter our mind. Both of us, if we're side by side in the same point, of course it'll go through our minds. And you know, it hurt the team a lot last year, obviously, with that. Obviously the boys and the girls, obviously the factory, we've got a lot of people, Renault, and it's tough to have both of your boys hooking into each other that hard for the lead of the Grand Prix. You know, it was difficult for them. Tough for me, but obviously I was a bit lucky on the day. Managed to get a podium. Obviously tough for Seb, but he didn't finish. So this is car racing. Look, you know, we're going to have some roller coasters here and there. I hope that we are racing tomorrow, to be honest. I hope we can, you know, have a clean Grand Prix and race each other. The racing is a bit different this year because we have the DRS. So if I get the overspeed on him or he gets the overspeed on me, obviously the passing might be a little bit more straightforward. We'll see. And also the pit stops. Well, there might be some passing done around the pit stops, so you're not really passing each other on the track. So let's see what happens, but we don't obviously repeat what happened last year, but we still want to race hard.
And racing hard is exactly what this man does. You can see that stare in his eyes. He always looks like that just before a Grand Prix starts, as he's considering his options at the start of the Grand Prix. And Eddie, this is the perfect situation for Red Bull, isn't it? They've got their future star performing brilliantly, and Mark ever more desperate to beat him and pushing him all the way.
Well, you know what the important thing here is, Jake? People often say who would be the two favourite drivers you'd like in a team, and automatically people think the two very best in the world as it stands. That's never the case. What you need is a real strong number two, somebody who's going to push the Sebastian Vettel. And let me be very clear, Mark Webber is well capable of doing that. We saw him lead the championship last year. Okay, at the end, probably filter away, but he's a very strong teammate.
Indeed, and in a matter of seconds, his engine will fire up. Mark will make his way out to the grid. Could we see our first big incident of team orders in Formula One this year? Because, of course, this year, team orders isn't banned, and if Mark gets in front of Sebastian, it would work for the team to have them the other way around, let's put it that way.
Well, I think there's always a team discussion before the start of any Grand Prix, whether it's the first one or the last one, which is avoid contact with your teammate at all costs. Those clearly not want to see a repeat of what happened here last year. But I think it's way too early. Too many points at stake, and way too early for any team to be putting all their eggs in one basket.
OK, it'll be interesting to watch, though. Just mind your back, Eddie, because as you can see, they're just putting the nose onto Mark's car down there behind us. He's getting ready to go out. You saw the countdown clock tick through. We're now less than half an hour until the start of today's Grand Prix, and Lewis Hamilton is in the car, getting into the garage, preparing himself for his race this afternoon. Now, he drove fantastically well in China, but actually the team around him were just as much heroes of the hour 3 weeks ago, because without them, he wouldn't have been in the Grand Prix. I tell you, a few weeks ago, it wasn't as calm as that in the McLaren garage.
I come into the garage and I go around and see all the guys and just wish them all luck. And then I couldn't get the car started. There was like 2 minutes to go, I think, and the back end was still not on. So I was kind of like, oh.
So is that the most unusual build-up to a Grand Prix you can remember?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was very unusual. I think I can imagine if I was on the edge of my seat, so I'm sure everyone else was.
It's a serious problem, and now they're having to take the airbox off to actually get to the engine physically. He has just a little more than 5 minutes to get this job done, but that is big. Lewis Hamilton, calm in the car, but this is high drama at McLaren.
I think it's important for me. I could have easily questioning what's going on, what the hell's going on, and I could have shouted or something like that, but there was no sense in doing that. And the guys are all doing what they can to make sure to get the job done, and they've all got the radios on, so the last thing they need to hear is me panicking.
The guys have just turned up with fire extinguishers, and I'm just taking a step back, and you can see our camera 2 now is being pushed back because there is a stench of petrol in this garage.
There was a moment when we were shooed out of the garage for safety reasons because there was men standing there with fire extinguishers. You were about to start the car and there'd been fuel everywhere. They were frantically trying to unwrap
At that one stage, I remember that one stage, there's the guy with the fire extinguisher here, and I was thinking, oh my, yeah, I'm strapped into this. It's like a time bomb, you know. This is about to go off. So, and I didn't have my gloves on, so my initial thing was to put my hands under my legs because I didn't want to. Yeah, if it went up in flames, so I closed my visor, put my hands away so they wouldn't get burnt if it did blow up in flames. You're on TV again.
Oh. Hi, Paul. He's becoming more famous than you after this episode, isn't he? So Lewis has had time to recover and reflect on the race. You've had the same 3 weeks since the last Grand Prix. What are your recollections of that 10-minute window before the last Grand Prix?
It's hard to put into words, really. Just relief to get to the grid and feel it.
When you took the top off, did you? I don't know what you could see.
But you can't. You pull the top body off, you can't see anything. Right. So then you have to pull the airbox off. And as we were pulling the airbox off, I managed to get my hand in. And as I put my hand in the air tray, there was quite a lot of fuel in the air tray. And I thought, oh, right, we've got a problem here.
So how would that come about? What had happened? Is there someone here that we can blame?
No, there's not actually.
That's good.
No. No, there's not. Not at all. There's a pressure release valve in the fuel system. And basically, for some unknown reason, it released, which it does, and stayed released. So the fuel then poured back into the air tray.
But actually, from that, they have now developed a new valve, which will always...
Oh, really? What, since the last Grand Prix you've made changes?
We have, yeah.
I've bombed it out the garage as fast as I could, which I've actually always wanted to do, but generally in practice and that, you don't do that. So it was pretty cool to be. I thought that was fun. Had a pretty decent start. It wasn't the best, but it was a pretty decent start. And then from the race from there on, you know, I just drove like I always do. You know, when you're in that race and you feel you've got the car beneath you, overtaking Vettel at the end, overtaking the world champion, and pulling away from him, and also doing it in a place where you didn't expect it, so good.
What was also remarkable, considering the number of wins you've had, was that was almost the most emotional I think I've ever seen you after a Grand Prix. Where did that come from?
I don't really know. I think it was really just, it feels like a long time since I'd won a Grand Prix. To be able to finish ahead of the Red Bulls for the first time in a long time, it felt like a serious accomplishment. So, and I was able to share that with all my guys when we sat in front of the garage at the end of the race. There's been lots of ups and downs in this career in Formula 1 with different things we've been up against as a team, struggles that we've gone through. It just feels amazing. It feels like when I first started racing, how it felt winning.
And the good news from here in Turkey is that no such problems for McLaren. Lewis Hamilton makes his way out of the garage, but he's really got his work cut out here. No driver has ever won from the second row of the grid. But let's talk about Lewis's chances today, David. Are they slightly damaged by the fact that McLaren burned an extra set of the soft tyre in qualifying yesterday?
Well, they're definitely at disadvantage. You've got the two Mercedes cars there around them, which have a new set of the options available. So we know how powerful the tyres have proved to be so far this season. So they don't really have anything to defend against them. But ultimately, they felt the pace was down and they needed to run those tyres to try and improve the grip position. So they'll be disappointed with that.
And we should come here with McLaren feeling fantastic about having won the last race. But actually, Mercedes have taken a huge step forward. Ferrari, despite not being where they want, are breathing down McLaren's neck. Apart from Red Bull, that fight for second place in the Constructors is really shaping up nicely, isn't it?
Well, it is indeed. And really, we have to ask ourselves, first of all, go back to China. Were McLaren lucky to win it? Possibly. The argument is, yes, they got the strategy right, and it really, Red Bull lost it by making a bad decision. However, let's not take it away from Lewis. I think he drove well, and I think McLaren are still very strong and shouldn't be discounted from that little group that you talk about. I still think they'll be near the top of that in the end.
Sure, and if you're a big McLaren fan, of course, Lewis and Jenson have shared the wins here in the past couple of seasons. Well, we're baking down here in the pit lane, but let's head to the grid now. Martin Brundle is there for us. Martin, what's the atmosphere like down there?
Well, it's as busy as ever. In fact, crowded at the front of the grid. I just want to have a look at the first corner before we dive in there and see what we can find, because it's a very short run down there, one of the shortest of the year. You can see the brake marker boards there on the right and on the protective barrier on the left-hand side as well. Why they have a 150, I don't know. You'd be braking a double-decker bus at 150. The F1 cars go deep past the 100 board, but it's only 160 metres from pole position to the braking point for turn one. Now, remembering they can't use their KERS until they're doing 100 kilometres per hour or 62 miles an hour. So that's about 2.5 seconds after they get off the line. So KERS won't have such a dramatic effect down to the first corner. I'm understanding that Vettel will be using his. But there's a big difference in the grip on the track. You can see how dirty and unused it is on the inside here, and that could have a dramatic... They reckon this is the biggest difference, the biggest delta between the normal racing line on the right-hand side as they're going down there and the left-hand side. So just passing under the bridge, these are where the lights hang from. I had a question on Twitter about how do the drivers at the back see them. Well, they're pretty high for starters. That's where the 5 red start lights come up, and there's a second set about halfway down the grid. This is the glass and steel cage where race director Charlie Whiting will start the procedure from for the lights coming on and then going out. I've noticed recently the Grand Prix and also from the support race there, the red lights seem to stay on quite a long time. Safety car ticking over, minding its own business. That's been used in just 2 of the 7 races here. Now, these black lines on the grid here tell a story. It's a little bit difficult to see with the flag here, but it's much blacker on the left-hand side of the grid. That means they're spinning their wheels more, laying more rubber down. But we've had 2 GP3 races, 2 GP2 races. They're all using Pirelli tyres. So I think the differential decreases as there's more and more start But if you notice from the left-hand side of the grid, the supposed dirty side, the tyre marks immediately sweep right. Everybody wants to be on the right-hand side as they head down to that blind first corner. Let's have a look at it from Vettel's perspective, if we can, down there. It looks like you're going to drive straight into the grandstand, down into the first corner. The track falls away dramatically, and that's why we've seen so many incidents in the first corner here. Now, I love the detail in Formula One. While I was standing here waiting for Jake to throw, a Red Bull guy was busy polishing the pylons for this Tensata barrier. Absolutely, that tells you the attention to detail of a team. They've got everything under control, no panic, and they're busy polishing the pylons here on the start line. Let's see if we can find Sebastian Vettel. He's over here in a scrum, by the looks of it, absolutely trying to find himself a bit of clear space down into, and he's got all sorts of German TV guys here, and we can dive in. And are you live yet? Are you live, Kai? Okay. He's not live, is he? Just give us a quick word then, Sebastian, can you? Yeah, just give us a quick word.
Mal heute geht es durch Turn 8 und ich denke mal, das geht sehr stark auf den rechten Vorderreifen. Ist das vielleicht heute so eine entscheidende Situation fürs Rennen?
Yeah, just give us one quick word and then
ich denke, es wird wichtig. Jetzt muss ich mich entscheiden, ob Englisch oder Deutsch.
Aber machen wir erstmal Deutsch, wir sind ja Deutsche beide.
Ja, ich denke, es wird wichtig sein, eine wichtige Kurve, aber ich glaube, es gibt noch genug andere Kurven, über die man sich Gedanken machen muss. Also es wird ein langes Rennen und wie gesagt, 58 lange Runden.
Ja, und die neue Gel-Frisur, soll das ein Glücksbringer sein?
Es ist nachher alles weg.
I'm happy waiting if you are. Okay, Sebastian, so is your KERS working?
We think so, yeah.
Down to the first corner, and the McLarens have tended to be a bit faster in the race than in qualifying maybe, but they should be disadvantaged. You've got more tyres than them.
Yes, that's true. We saved one set of options, Mark and myself, so it can only help, you know. It will be a long race, so we'll see when it's best, when it makes most sense to use it. Will be tricky here because it's quite a hard track on tyres around turn 8, you know. It's very high speeds, the loads are very high, so won't be an easy one, but you know, that's why we're here. We're here to challenge, and we hope for the best.
Sorry I took 2 pieces of your chocolate the other day. Apparently I should have broken it towards you and not away from you.
Says who?
Said somebody who sent me a message. Okay. Good luck in the race anyway. You confident?
Yeah, I mean, I think we start from the best possible position, so we have reason to be confident. Everything seems to be fine. I found the rhythm, you know, nicely yesterday, even though we didn't run on Friday, so things are looking good.
Top man, let's go. Let's see what else we can find down the grid. So that's the pole sitter, and calamity going on here, isn't it? Look, so many people from the various teams. We've spoken to Nico Rosberg. I don't know where Mark Webber is. I'd be very keen to have a quick chat with him if he's still on the grid. Is Mark still around? Okay, there we go. Let's hope we can find him. Not Kai Abel again. He is a pain in the microphone. Right, we'll wander down now. Vitaly, everything okay? Quick word? Let's follow him through. Can you get through here, Matt? He's walking through the Red Bull VIP area, and we just take a very quick word. Vitaly, so good grid position. You're confident in the race?
Yeah, we're quite comfortable. We have a good strategy. Our position, we're quite happy. We did a qualify 7, so everything looks okay in the moment.
Okay, I know you've got business to do, so I'll talk to you another time. So Vitaly Petrov then wandering down the pit lane to his pit garage. So just to remind you, this is called the grid. This is a grid walk. A lot of people say you do a pit walk, but that's the pit lane, the paddock's behind. We're obviously on the grid. I want a quick word with the F1 whisperer here, Adrian Newey. Adrian, sorry to interrupt your writing. Now, last year it looked like you were going to absolutely thrash everybody in this race, but McLaren were right on your tail. It doesn't look quite so comfortable this year. Are you confident?
Don't know. I mean, we had a difficult Friday, obviously, with various problems. Seb's accident obviously kept him out of the running. We had a few little problems here and there with Mark, so it wasn't smooth the Friday preparation, but hopefully we got what we needed to done yesterday. We shall see. Don't ask me how R2 are going to battle, because I know what happened last year, Martin.
Yeah, sorry about that. We did rather bring that one on, didn't we? But you've got one extra set of tyres over McLaren. How crucial is that in the race? One extra brand new set of soft tyres?
Well, the tyres are wear with every lap, So obviously we've saved effectively a lap's worth of wear. That's about all. The out lap and the in lap are very small amounts of wear, so it's only really one lap.
Okay, good luck. I don't know how long we've got left. We've got a minute or two. Let's see if we can find JB. That's Lewis's car. JB should be down here. He is. He's standing under the umbrella. He's talking to his engineer. We'll just see if he could get a very, very quick word with him before JB. And how's it looking?
Probably as good as Eddie's shirt today.
Not very then.
Oh, I quite like it. Better than yours.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yours is a bit boring.
Yeah, I know, but you know, makes me look a bit thinner.
Yeah, we can all
when
try.
I need it.
No, it's looking good actually. Yeah, it's always a fun place to race, and I think so much can happen around here. And the great thing is these tyres are playing a big part. So even though we're down in 6th, I think we can still have a lot of fun here. It's difficult into turn 1. On the inside, it's a lot dirtier. Just got to try and keep that Renault behind.
Have you not somehow got to get past Nico early doors if you're going to stay anywhere near the Red Bulls?
I don't think he's going to be going slow. I think that he's going to be fighting it out. So he's got a new set of tyres as well, options. I don't. Lewis doesn't. So he's in pretty good nick. So we'll see how it goes. Never really know until we get out there.
All right, I've got to go. I've got some things to do. Cheers, Jake.
Martin, thanks very much. So there you go. Your shirt gets the seal of approval from a Formula One world champion.
I always knew that Jenson Button had a lot of style.
Absolutely. We finally found someone in the world that likes Eddie's shirts. That's very exciting for us, believe me. Let's just talk about the front of the grid. We saw Sebastian there, looking calm and confident as he usually does. Red Bull have had 3 pole positions in Turkey, not turn them into a win.
Well, we all know what happened last year. You know, Vettel had all of these pole positions and it took him a long time to actually convert them into race wins. He's got over that. So let's be very clear, he's very dominant at the moment. But I have a sneaking suspicion, if ever there's a slight little hiccup in Vettel's armoury, I think it's at the start or in overtaking manoeuvres. Mark Webber may capitalise on that. He is so strong after the last race, he might even lead into the first corner.
Sure. I didn't think much of Adrian Newey trying to blame the BBC for the 2 Red Bulls coming together last year. Let's just quickly go live into the Virgin Racing garage of Timo Glocks. Now, this weekend, Virgin brought a huge upgrade to this race. New front of the car, new exhaust system. Sadly, not only has the exhaust not worked and they've taken it off the car because it was too hot, but they've now lost 5th gear, and Lee McKenzie is grabbing hold of Timo Glock. As I speak to you, Lee, over to you.
Thanks, Jake. Timo, very disappointing. Do you think you're going to get out at all, or is it terminal?
Yeah, we'll be tight. I mean, the guys trying their best, changing the gearbox. We lost 5th gear on the outlap for some reason, and just came in straight on, and they tried to fix it in time, but I think it will be quite tight. And if it makes sense to go into a race, we're already, 6-7 laps done. I think we have to think about that and maybe just see what happens, but I hope the guys can turn it around and see what we can do.
Thanks, Timo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big frustration for Timo Glock. Of course, they used to be at Toyota, the richest team in Formula One. Sounds like this race is just going to turn into a test session for them. Mercedes will be very happy indeed. They're their best qualifying of the season so far. Ted Kravitz is with Ross Brawn.
Well, Ross, beautiful day for a motor race. What's going to be the key to winning it, though?
I think the tyres are quite an interesting challenge this year, and I think you're going to see 3-stop races here. I don't think anyone's going to manage 2 stops, not at the front anyway, so it's going to be a 3-stop race and making the tyres last as well as you can. We made a big effort to keep at least 1 new set for the race, which would be a help. We weren't great on Friday on high fuel, and we've made quite a number of changes, so I hope they come through as to a better race setup. So that would be my main concern at the moment, our race setup, because we've not had a chance to see what the car's like. A lot of changes on Friday, and obviously showed good performance on Saturday, but we haven't had a chance to go back on high fuel.
Okay, have a good race, thank you.
And Michael Schumacher will hope for a good race after a disappointing qualifying session yesterday. He starts 8th and leads busy. She's with Michael.
Michael, I know you weren't too happy yesterday. Are you more positive today?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And have you worked out what was going on with your car? Because that was the main issue.
No, it's nothing to do with the car. In the end, I did a small mistake in turn 1, and compensating this, I probably pushed too hard and overdid the tyres.
Looking forward to lots of overtaking?
Indeed.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. Michael admitting he pushed too hard, overdid the tyres. Tyres is what everybody's talking about at the moment in Formula One. And what you'll hear the guys talk about in the commentary box as well is the marbles. Now, that's the rubber that the tyres shred. And Eddie's got a handful of marbles here. And you can see that's not a marble. There's lots of tiny pieces of rubber here. Just explain what happens, Eddie, when the cars try and overtake. They run offline and they drive over these marbles.
Well, first of all, this is not the construction. This is actually the compound. So, in other words, the grip. This is a mixture of prime here and options, all mixed together. So when cars go offline, because this is thrown up off heat, all sorts of things make this happen. And so when cars fall over these pieces of rubber, it gives them a very disrupted type of mechanism and steering, so they want to keep well away from it. They also cause the car to skid and to slip away.
And this is just one of the byproducts of asking Pirelli to bring tyres to Formula One that degrade, that struggle, that break up. You'll get exciting racing, but you will get these all over the track, and we'll see them today in high definition.
Yes, but let's not forget, this was an occurrence in every category of racing in the past. It's just more obvious now because Pirelli have been asked to make sure that the tyres don't last as long, and hence they've got to get rid of the compound.
OK, well, Sebastian Vettel starts on the clean side. Mark Webber starts on the dirty side with his car sitting in and around all of these marbles. Yesterday in qualifying, it was just half a second between them. Same car, both brimming with talent. What makes the difference of 0.4 of a second? Take a look.
4 out of 4 pole positions this season for Sebastian Vettel. Just what has Mark Webber got to do to match his young German rival? Well, let's take a look. These are the qualifying laps compared side by side. 3.3 miles, 14 turns. We're into the first corner already. Vettel carries more speed to the apex. He's ahead, and we've barely got underway. Webber runs slightly wider on the exit. He'll get less traction on that artificial grass. Now they climb the hill towards the blind apex of turn 3. And once again, Vettel sweeps in carrying more speed, and he's clearly ahead now. You can see the concrete service road where his front left wheel is. He carries the same advantage into 4. Look at those poles on the inside for a reference point. Cascading down the hill, turn 5 is slightly more open, on the throttle nice and early. We're coming to the end of the first sector, which Vettel wins comfortably. Let's give Mark a fast forward so we can directly compare them in the second sector of the lap. At the foot of the hill for turn 7. Vettel on the throttle quite a bit earlier. That'll pay big dividends as they head towards the amazing turn 8. Both ignore the first apex, but by the second apex, Vettel is ahead again. But look at their crash helmets. Vettel is resting his neck on the right-hand side of the cockpit. Webber is leaning in the more traditional fashion. Webber takes a tighter line through the exit of 8, but doesn't really gain any advantage. They fall down the hill towards turn 9, a very tricky braking zone. Very similar driving styles in here, except Vettel chooses to use more of the inside curve. They both drive to the same point on the exit of 9 and then sweep through turn 10 using as much apron as they can get away with, and still Vettel slightly wider and ahead. With the DRS rear wing wide open, they're approaching 200 miles an hour, sweeping through turn 11, over the crest, towards a heavy braking zone for turn 12, the 60 mile an hour left-hand hairpin. But this time it's Webber who brakes later and gains a little time back. But he can't slow the car enough into the apex, runs slightly wide. Vettel's tighter line on the left-hand side gains him some time back. But Webber on the right has a better line across the curb in turn 13. They're very similar in 14. Despite that small fast forward we gave Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel on the left is still crossing the line first. Mark Webber somehow has to find more apex speed and get on the throttle earlier. Easier said than done.
And there's that familiar finger. That is the difference between first and second on the grid in Formula One. There's nothing in it, is there? And if Mark Webber doesn't get past his teammate at the start, he may well try and do it in what we're calling the DRS zone, because, of course, now in Formula One, you can open up the rear wing of the car, which gives you less drag, it increases speed, but you can only do it if you're a second behind the car in front of you as you enter that area on the track, which is turn 11, and then on the big long drag all the way down to turn 12. You can open up your DRS, hopefully catch and overtake someone. And talking about overtaking, Eddie, we've seen so much more this season. And you think that's a reason that we will see less dramatic starts and less safety cars as well?
Well, I think this DRS has been very positive for a whole lot of raft of reasons that we had really no idea at the time. And the reason I said that, I think that we will have less safety cars. We'll have less safety cars because we saw what happened with Mark Webber, that you can come from 18th on the grid and get yourself onto the podium. Kamui, Kobayashi has the same sort of situation here, but they're not going to be crowding each other out in the first corner. So therefore, I think we'll have much more subdued and much more sensible approach to the start line.
Yes, Kamui Kobayashi had a qualifying session to forget yesterday. He didn't complete a time in qualifying, but he was allowed to race. He starts just a couple of places from the back, but if anyone can overtake, Kamui Kobayashi can. So we're going to see some overtaking. We're going to see a very dramatic start. Mark Webber on the dirty side, his teammate on the clean side. How will this race play out, Eddie?
Well, you know, we've had so many surprises this year, and I think this is going to be no exception. I just happen to feel that maybe Mark Webber, on the back of what happened in China, he's up for it. We've heard what he has to say, and I think he'll be there. I think he'll have a real strong race. Might even squeeze him out at the start of the first corner.
OK, we'll wait and see what happens. Time to hand over the reins then to David Coulthard alongside Martin Brundle. Here we are then for the Turkish Grand Prix, live on BBC One and BBC One HD. And it's the same old face at the front and the same old story for the rest. Catch and pass Sebastian Vettel and win the fourth race of 2011.